All right, cool. I was building last week. So we'll build a bit on sales, right? And we talked about the big thing about last week, what the number one secret was to do what? Ask 3 times and get what? 3 no's. And I want to really kind of shift your mindset about sales. And this is a big thing I was just thinking is a great reminder. I was going back through studying some stuff from Alex Hormozi. I want you guys to understand that the one thing he talks about is no is the job. What does that mean, you think? No is the job.
You get a no, your job is to get a yes.
In a way, yep. What else? Bobby, what do you think you did? What else? Give me another one. Tim, what do you think?
I think that what you guys were talking about with timeshares, sometimes you have to get 10
Yeah.
to get a yes. So you just keep getting the no's until you can figure out how you go deep enough to get a yes.
Yep. I interviewed a guy on Friday. This guy, Ryan knows who he is, but he's been in timeshare for 30 years. Super sharp guy, amazing guy. I was telling him we were taught on a Tuesday. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, dude, you got to ask 10 times to be able to get a yes. And then guess what? They say it after 10 times. You go over and over and over. He's been to every major company, been in every single position. This super sharp guy. And he's been in forever. He's just kind of burned out at doing it. He's going back and forth to Charleston, running a resort there. But the point being, it's just fundamental in sales. But the reason I share it, I want you guys to write this down. Expect and plan for what? No. Most people, and this is a big reminder of just any sales team in general, people get no, and what do they feel like? I'm defeated, right? You got no, and so all of a sudden you feel defeated. And this is a great way to look at this thing. And here's the deal, right? You got to understand they're going to say no matter what. If the client would buy without saying no, you would not need a job. You would not have a job. Say it again, right? If the client would buy without saying no, you wouldn't have a job. Does that make sense? Why? Because any company out there, what would they do? Just send a link and have them sign up, right? Hey, sign this listener agreement, sign this buyer agreement. But the problem is no one really wants to do that, so you have to understand that no is your job. And that thankfully that no is there because that's what gives you your job, and all you got to do is figure it out. But the difference here, I want you to just flip your mindset upside down from where it is that no is the job, meaning I got to go and expecting no because that's what brings me success. Does that make sense? And so now when you get the no, don't be disappointed. Just know, hey, look, this is when my job's starting. Does that make sense to you guys? Which I think is super important. And so I want you guys to say that's the key part there is I want to make sure I'm understanding that and coming from the place that no is not a big deal. No is where my job starts at. You guys with me on that? And so there's 2 main things we talked about. Number 1, there's selling. What's selling? Moves you closer to close, right? So that's anything from the initial phone call, right? Book an appointment, follow-up, nurturing, face-to-face appointment, right? Whatever it is. Selling is everything up to what? The close. Everything after the close is called what? Closing. Where's all the money made at, you think? Closing. It's by far the single most important part. And so this is a great example I want to share with you guys about why it's so important to get good at it. This is what Alex Hormozi talks about. Like, breaks down sales into this way. So you have your pool of buyers, right? Or sellers, whatever it is, your lead pool. 10% that come through, guess what? They're not going to buy no matter what you do. No matter how good you are, they're not going to buy from you. They're very, very difficult. They're commission shoppers, right? They're just looky-loos. They're just looking around. They're truly temporary. They're truly on the site. Make sense? So no matter what, they're typically not going to buy. Or if they do, they're 5, 6, 10 years, right? That just take a very, very long time to convert. Another 10%, what about them?
They're going to buy.
They're going to buy no matter what you do. They're the laydowns. And so they're the ones that come in, they're laydowns, they're just ready to go. Those are the easy ones. So if you do get a follow-up and you don't get a no, guess where you know they're at? They're one of these people. And sometimes people can still screw this up. Because you feel like they're coming in as a laydown, and people, what do they start doing? Talking too much, explaining too much, over-talking the sale, especially if it's an SRC personality type. They go every detail, and they turn the person off who already wants to buy. And so the difference here where all the money's made at is what? The 80% in the middle can go either way based on what?
Skills.
Your skill set. And so anybody can follow up and nurture, right? Because there's no real game, that there's no other part about that. And one of the great examples that Alex Hormozi talks about when he goes through this, he talks about the number 1 stat, I shared this a few years ago, the number 1 stat that can tell who We'll go to the playoffs. Anybody remember that? I shared with you a while back. NFL teams?
Turnovers.
Nope.
What is it? Time of the
Nope.
Defense. How many points did you love?
Nope.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
The top 5 red zone offenses went to the playoffs 90% of the time. The top 5 red zone offenses went to the playoffs 90% of the time. I can't remember the period, it's like 10 years or whatever he tracked. And he talked about what is that red zone offense ultimately?
They're in there, they score.
That's your ability to close. Anybody know what red zone offense? Red zone is? What's red zone?
20 yards.
20 yards into the end zone, right? So it's the last 20 yards of the 80 yards. They drive all the way in the field. Typically, it's their ability to do what? Close. Now, why is it more difficult to close in red zone? It's tighter, you have less room, right? So the defenses can pack that area much deeper. They can play a different style of defense, so it's harder to be able to, you don't have enough room to run out and do longer plays, right? And so they're able to push hard against you. And so the ability to close here determines the winners and who gets to it. And he said it could be compared to any other stat. They could have the worst defense, technically, based on the data in the league, but those teams still made the playoffs. You have the worst coaching. But as long as they had the best red zone offense, right, the top 5 teams made the playoffs 90% of the time. And so that's the same thing in sales, is my ability to close in the red zone is what determines my money in the long run. Anybody can make some dials, right? Anybody can follow up. Anybody can call and do a nurture call and not book an appointment. That's not where the money's made at, but everyone goes there because it's most comfortable. And so where I want you guys to understand where you got to master is I got to master that red zone offense, which is my ability to close. Right? So everything up to the sale, asking for the sale, right, is selling. That's the easy part. Everything after asking for the sale is closing. And so what do you think the big challenge is there?
Close and get them to say yes.
Yep, so you got to be able to ask the right questions, and ultimately, what makes the most money? My ability to overcome the objections, right? And so that's the key thing you have to understand from, and look how the difference is, right? Selling's everything. You got to go from where you're at now. And so I want you guys to write this down too. The expectations you set in the process dictate the relationship. Jeremy and I were talking about this yesterday, right? They dictate your relationship. What does that mean? There's a little bit of a side note, but I want to do it before I move ahead. So the expectations I set in the beginning, in the presentation, right, dictate relationship. What does that mean? What do you mean, Jeremy?
That's your intent statement, essentially. You gotta say, hey, here's what we're going to do moving forward. Getting them to agree that that's the course of action moving forward. Yes.
And this would even be post-close, right? So my expectations, how I set them, both in could be the intent statement, it could be in the presentation, but also it could be the button up on the back end, aka pricing, aka expectations about what to expect showing-wise, how many showings you get, what the feedback's going to be, what the process is going to be, what happens if people aren't going to show up to showing sometimes, right? All these things that tend to unravel the connection with sellers, that setup dictates your relationship and how it goes about. So if I'm really lighting the button up and really lighting and setting expectations, what happens to the relationship usually in the back end? Falls apart. Why? Because they have a long sales cycle, right? And so either the listings want to get out their agreement or buyers is going to ghost you and go buy with somebody else. And so that's why it's so important to us to understand kind of what that is. Now, there's 2 things we got to understand. There's what we call obstacles. There's objections. What's the difference, you think?
Obstacles are just kind of smoke screens where they're trying to throw you off, get you off track. Objections may be more meaningful, but they're all still kind of the same thing. You got to keep asking questions so you figure out, you go deep enough to find out what's really going on.
And a way to put this in closest, right? So obstacle is a thing that blocks one's way, prevents and hinders progress. So what that means is when you disagree with something they say. So on the front end, I'm going through the presentation, they say, man, my house is worth 400 grand, your CMA has 200, what's that? That's an obstacle. And so you want to be able to overcome this up front, because after the sale, that becomes what? An objection. Which one's easier to overcome? No. The obstacle is always easier to overcome. Why? There's no pressure yet. I have not asked for the sale. And so, for example, I come in, they tell me something that this is when the prospect says something that's unrealistic, like, hey, I don't ever sign anything today, right? I got my cousin's a realtor. I don't like realtors. I'm not going to sign anything with you, right? I'm going to have to talk and think about whatever it is. Whatever they tell you, that's an obstacle. And so if I let that go, what's going to happen? It's going to become an objection for you. It's going to be 10 times more powerful because at that point, the pressure's on and everything comes about what are my word tracks and how I overcome objections. Does that make sense? And so I want you to understand the psychology behind it. And so my job here is to attack it. It can be anything. And I was talking about this as I was studying it, right? What's a simple obstacle? They can tell you. I have one here. It's like, hey, I just want to know what my house is worth. And so that's an obstacle. So I come into the house, right, do my intent statement. They say, well, I'm not selling, Jeremy. I just want to know what my house is worth. What's that? Obstacle. Why? They're giving me a reason. Now, what do I know?
Yeah, they do want to sell.
They've been to a website, submitted information, cell phone number, had a guy call them. The guy called them, reached out. The guy asked them 25 questions, answered the question. They booked an appointment with me. I drove over. They had me come to the house. They toured me around the house, and they sat me down at the kitchen table. Now, that's not something somebody does if they just want what? A home value. And so my job at that point is to do what? I got to collide with him. And so I want to collide now because if I wait till the end of the presentation, it's going to be objection, be much more difficult to overcome. So what I do, hey, Jeremy, okay, I appreciate that, Jeremy. I know you probably don't have random guys come over to your house and tour your house, right, for no reason, just to get a home value. Let me ask you this, Jeremy. Is there a particular problem you're trying to solve? So now, I didn't collide too hard, but I asked that question. So if you guys ever get that, I want you to say, okay, blank, go through. Hey, you probably don't go to a website, talk to a guy named Joe, answer a bunch of questions for Joe that had me come to your house, tour the house with you, just if you want a home value. Let me ask you this, Joe, right? Or let me ask you this, Jeremy. Is there a particular problem you're trying to solve? What are you trying to do if you did get the right home value? Right? At that point, I use the opportunity to do what? To dig. Now, if I don't do that, what happens when I try to do the close in the back end? Oh, I just want a home value, I'm not looking to sell, which we know is what? And that comes from their fear of being closed and their ultimate avoidance. Does that make sense? And so this is a great one-liner I want to share with you guys. Say, okay, great. I know you, this is basically say, hey, I'm just here for more information. I just want this, which we know is total lie.
Probably get that a lot with cash offer. I just want cash offer.
Yeah, I just want cash offer. Right? I totally appreciate that, right? I know you didn't have me come over just to get a random cash offer, right? Is there a particular problem you're trying to solve? And I want to go deeper in terms of what that is. And so that's really important for our listing team to understand to use that, or anybody that goes in a listing. Same thing with buyers. Say, hey, I'm not looking to buy anything right now. I'm just looking at houses. Totally appreciate that, Ryan. I know particularly most people don't really go to a website, type their information in, and search 138 different houses in a 7-day period if they're not looking to do something. Let me ask you this. Are you looking to solve some type of problem? I'd word it differently. Is there a particular problem you're trying to solve? And that way, you can do what? Ask a different question that gets you to a different outcome. But understand, those types of roadblocks are what? Obstacles, and if I let the obstacle go, it's going to turn into an objection and be much more difficult to overcome. Doesn't mean I can't overcome it, but you got to be really good at closing and my word tracks on the back end. Does that make sense? And so, hey, I don't want to buy right now, right? That's an obstacle, right? You say, hey, totally reasonable. What are the main criteria you're thinking through? And that's when I ask that on the front end. Does that make sense? So you've got to go through that part, which you understand. If I get to that part, I want you guys to write this down. Seek to understand, not to argue. I want to seek to understand, not to argue. So I want to remain rapport. And so if I seek to understand, what do you think that means? I want to have childlike curiosity. We talked about this a lot, but I figure it's a great reminder. Because I want to say, okay, I didn't think of it like that. Tell me more about that, right? And I come from a very childlike curiosity place so that they can tell me what they're thinking. Why? Because I want to understand what? How they're thinking. Why they think the way they do. Because most of the time it could be deranged, right, or delusional, but my job is to figure out what exactly about it is off and how do I go reconstruct that for them so they can think the right way. Does that make sense? I want to go in and reframe them based on what their situation is with that. What are you guys hearing from that?
Now, one of the habits from Dr. Covey is seek to understand, not to argue.
100%, right? I want you guys to write this down too. Learning how to talk through the high-stakes decisions, right, with others, aka the presentation, as a result, helps you become more powerful. So I want to be able to go through and help them talk through high-stakes decisions. Now, what do most people do? They avoid that part. They avoid the tough conversation. They avoid the tough part, which is what really transforms people and have them move the same thing, right? And so that's the key part there. I want you to expect no at first, which is super important, right? And the other thing you run into, Biggest reasons people don't make decisions. There's 3 main ones. Talks about a lot. We've been through a lot of them. Jordan Belfort has different ones, right, in terms of why people don't make decisions. Grant Cardone has certain ones. There's 3 main ones. They call them distortions. What do you think that means? There's a doctor, I think I have his name saved here, Dr. Albert Ellis, right? He calls them the cause of emotional disturbance, which means basically, right, they have this different distortion of reality. They have a feeling of fear, so what do? They distort reality to protect themselves. Does that make sense? And so Dr. Albert Ellis, he's a person that came up with cognitive behavioral therapy. He's a person that really studied people why they're crazy, what they did. And they talked about, there's actually like 10 reasons, narrowed it down to 3. 3 biggest reasons that people have these distortions, which is what they tell you they can't buy at the end or sell at the end, are really 3 main ones, right? Number 1, circumstance. What do you think that means? Yeah, that'd be like what? Yeah, I'm not quite ready yet, right? I want to move in the next year, right? The stuff you guys usually get. I'm just looking right now. Those are ideally distortions of reality because they're not on there looking, trying to figure out something. And here's the deal. Like, who's going to look at, like, you think real estate, but they wouldn't actually buy it if they could buy it? Now, some may not be able to afford it, but that's a different scenario. Does that make sense? But they're on there looking for a reason. They're out the singles bar for a reason. They're on Tinder for a reason. Make sense? And we're in the Tinder of real estate. They're on there for a reason regardless of what they say. And so out of defense, they're going to distort that situation to you to help defend themselves against making a bad decision or being sold. Does that make sense, you guys? That's the first one. Number 2 is others. So first, people always blame circumstance. Second thing, they always blame others. So that would be like what? Spouse, right? Business partner, whatever it is, family. I got to talk with my dad. Those are people they're trying to blame to keep them from making that decision. Okay? And so that means it's external. And finally, after those 2 are exhausted, you overcome most of those, then finally what do people actually look at? Self. And that would be typically what's the objection you're going to get there?
I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can qualify.
I need to think about it.
Yeah.
Not quite ready. Right? And so no matter what, and I want you guys to write that down, it's always going to come down to this point. If they tell you the objection here in itself, think about it. What does that come down to?
Fear.
Yes. And what do they do to protect themselves from fear? Avoidance. So I want you guys to understand, the no you get at the end, the think about it at the end is not necessarily just a no, it's just avoidance. Avoidance of making a decision. Now they think that not making a decision is not a decision. And our goal, what we're going to teach them and go through, is that, hey, not making a decision today, guess what that is? That is a decision. You're making a decision not to make a decision today, and that's okay. But we got to make sure that we end with this with some type of route or decision at the end. And so my job is to help put them in power enough to actually make a good decision, and that can be yes or no based on if they're a fit for us and fit for the situation. Does that make sense? The last thing I want anybody to be able to do is blame somebody else or be able to have avoidance through self. And so I want you guys to look at this as like an onion, right? I drew this out a long time ago, if you guys remember. I had the onion, right? You have the layers of the onion in terms of how it is, right? And so you have the ultimate layers, what it is. And so first one you have circumstance. Second one you have here is others. And the third one's going to be self. So they're always typically going to start outside. I'm not quite ready yet, waiting for the grandkids, whatever it is in that scenario, it's always going to be circumstance, right? Then it's going to be spouse, others, whatever it is, the second one, and third one's going to be self. It's just how people look at it. They don't want to take responsibility for anything and just say, hey, look, I'm scared to make a decision. What are they going to do? They're going to blame somebody else. Just like no one tells you, hey, look, I don't think you're good enough to do this job. I'm not going to sign with you. They just say, hey, look, want to think about it. They ghost you and they don't ever come back around. Make sense? That's very, very important to think about overall. And so, guess what we're going to do? Circumstance comes down to 3 main things. Number 1 is time. Number 2 is value. Number 3 is fit. Right? Time, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to meet with you. I'm too busy this week. Right? That's a big one you're going to get. Everybody on the phone? Well, I don't have time this week to meet you. Everybody get that on the phone? Do you think that's true? No, right? If you're giving $10,000 cash out, would they be here today? Absolutely. And so my job is to have that certainty and energy that helps them understand this is that important. So, hey, Bobby, I totally understand you're super busy. You got a lot going on. Let me ask you this. If I could have a way to save you 20, 30 hours in your home search, is that something that would benefit you? Yeah. If I could show you how 15 minutes can save you 20 hours in the back end, would that be worth 15 minutes? Absolutely it would be. So I got 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, which one's better for you? Right? I got to be able to go back and understand that whatever reason you're telling me that they can't do it is, guess what? The reason why they need to do it. Does that make sense? I'm not really sure I can afford it right now. Hey, Bobby, that's the exact reason you should do it. Guess what? I'm not sure if you follow Fed futures at all, do you? Nope. You know what that is? Nope. Right? Group of really smart people on Wall Street that watch and predict interest rates going forward. And guess what they're predicting the rest of 2026? 3 more hikes. Does that mean it's going to be less affordable, more affordable for you? Less affordable, which is why you need to do it right now if you ever want to buy a house in the next couple of years. Make sense? Same thing from the seller side, which is important. So time, value, which means they can't get enough for it, they don't see value in what you have, or they say I'm just not a fit for it. Number 2 is going to be others, which is the authority. What they're doing, they see others, they're giving the authority to who? Yes, and so my job is to do what? Put them in power enough to make the decision and say, look, you can make a decision. And at that point, what do I typically talk about, Jeremy? You remember?
What was the last part again?
Well, I'm talking about the authority one. What I want to teach people in that process. I'm going to give you guys a couple word tracks to have, which is I'm just setting the frame up for it now. But like, what do you want to give people here? Yep, and say, hey, Ryan, it seems to me, right, that you're seeking permission when you should be seeking support in this situation. Let me ask you this, and I go back to the actual problem, right? Let me ask you this. Is your wife in favor, or is she basically against you guys getting a larger house where you have more space for you and your child? Right? So why would she ever be against you taking action to help fix that problem for her? Right? So that way I'm able to go back to that process and you just return it back around, which I'll give you guys a framework for that. Right? So these are ways to understand how I do this process, but it's important. Right? So how they sound. Time, not a good time right now. Value, I can't afford it. Fit, not sure if this is for me. We don't get that very much because it's pretty good in terms of what we offer compared to what their needs are, right? Authority, I have to talk to my partner, spouse, business partner, whatever it is. And avoidance means I need to think about it, right? So, now's not a good time to buy, right? What do you do there? All right, learn more about that. Hey, let me ask you this, why do you think it's not a good time? There could be 2 ways to do it. One they call macro, which is like the season they're in, right? Or it could be micro, means they don't actually have time to actually do anything. They feel like they're too busy in the short term. There's 2 different nuances there. Does that make sense? A macro meaning the season to sell, or micro means I don't have time for you to come to my house and do a listing presentation right now. Does that make sense? And my job as a salesperson to do what? Figure out which one it is. Right? Is it short-term micro, which means you can't meet me this week, but you can do next week, so I can book it out ahead of time, right? Which means I need to hold them accountable to whatever it is. Or macro means, hey, I'm not quite ready until next year. Both those have different ways I take them down to help them understand where we're going. Make sense? Which I think is super important to look at there. So that's the key thing we look at there with it, right? A lot of people think, when I have more time, I'll do it. That's the overall micro. And so we kind of go back to that part. Can you think of a time in your life most recently where you weren't busy? No, right? Everybody thinks you're way busy in the art. Does it make sense? So my job at that point is to do what? Jill's going for you. Is call them out. Hey, Bobby, can you remember a time in the last couple of years where you weren't busy?
No.
Can you think of that change any time in the near future? Probably not. That's exactly why you do it right now, because guess what? You're going to be busy now, busy in the future, but prices continue to go up, right? It's going to cost you more money as interest rates go up, so it's much better for you to get in now so you can save a lot of money and be able to gain that as you continue being busy going forward. Make sense? And I go back to the macro part, which is if I can give you 15 minutes, save you 20 hours, would you do it? Yes. You just got to ask a simple question to get them through that process. Make sense? These are simple word tracks you want to get through, but all this comes typically where? On the back end. Make sense? So, first one here, talk about with authority. My job is to put them in power. So, first authority, here's where you want to go to. If they tell you to talk to somebody else, right? We have an amazing close. Anybody know what the close is? I think it's by far the best one. Yeah. Awesome, Ryan. I know you talked to your wife. How long have you been married?
4 years.
4 years. So you've been married a while, right? How long have you been together?
13.
13 years. That's long of a decade, right? So let me ask you this. Did she know that we were coming today?
Yeah, she knows I'm weird.
And let me ask you this, Ryan. Does she trust you?
I would say she trusts me pretty well.
I'm making sure she does trust you, because she wouldn't let you meet with us today if she didn't trust you to make the right decision. Would you agree?
100%.
So with that being said, do you feel comfortable making a decision she'll be happy with? I'm setting a trap. You say no.
Yeah, well, I at least like to talk to her about it.
Perfect. Let me ask you this, Ryan. Here's how you go back. Which part of the process, the program, you think she'd be most concerned about?
Probably
And so when he tells me that, whose real objection is that? His objection, which means now I understand what the real objection is, so now we get to address that. Make sense? That's why I said the trap that way. So that's important. Hey, talk about your own commitment. So let me ask you this, Ryan. How do you feel about the 1-year commitment?
It might be a little long.
A little long for you, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of worried, like, what happens if we don't find it, or, what if I find it for somebody else?
Yeah, let me ask you this, Ryan. Do you like pressure?
No.
I don't like pressure either, and so that actually 1-year agreement is designed for you, not for me. I really much buy it in 2 weeks from now, but the last thing you want to have is pressure, because let me ask you this, they do a 3-month agreement. What do you think any agent does to you on month 2?
I'm not sure.
Pressure. Why?
I guess they're trying to get me to buy something.
By when? End of 3 months agreement, right? And here's the crazy part. It takes 30, 45 days to sell once you go under contract. So that's almost 1.5, 2 months there. Let's say you do a 6-month agreement, right? What do you think happens on months 3, 4, 5?
I'm probably going to get a lot of calls.
Every single house, what do you think they're going to try to do?
Sell it to me?
Yeah. Do you like that feeling?
No, I just want to sit back and relax and find the right one.
That's exactly what I want you to do too, which is why that 12 months is there to protect you.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Boom. Walk them right through it. Okay, so that key part there, now what I did, that closing and me baiting him into the wife part really gave me what? Your objection. Let me ask you this, Ryan. Does your wife like pressure?
No, absolutely.
She's even worse, right? Yeah. I don't like pressure either. So last thing I want is you guys to feel pressured in every single one. Here's the crazy part. Let's say you have a really sweet agent who's nice and who's awesome, who follows the book, every single thing, but they on month 2 and 3, and all of a sudden it's month 4 for a 6-month agreement. What do you think they're doing subconsciously without even noticing it? Pressuring you because they know the clock is ticking. And the last thing you want to be doing is forced in to buy a house within 6 months, even if you don't find the right one. Would you agree? Yeah. That's why that 12 months is there to protect you and not me.
Okay.
Make sense? So the why they feel not to do it is the why they what? Should do it. And I believe in that fully, right? Because how many, Baron, you've been here for a while, how many people you had to go past 12-month agreement?
A lot.
Probably 50 to 100, right?
I don't know.
A lot, right?
Between 50 to 100.
So that key part there is true in terms of they tend to take a lot longer than they think they do in most cases. Make sense? So, and obviously I could have worded mine a little bit stronger. Hey, how long you been married? Great. Let me ask you, does they know where to meet today? Great. Do they trust you? Yes. I'm having to say they do trust you to make the right decision today, Ryan, because she wouldn't let you meet with me if she didn't think you make that decision. Is that correct? Yes. Safe to say you're powerful enough and smart enough to make a decision without her. Is that right? Yes. Great. What are your thoughts? Right? Ready to put me to work? Go right for the close. That's if I have that way to do that. Does it make sense? Now, so first thing you want to do, hey, let me ask you this. Jeremy, what do you think that she would be most concerned about in terms of the process of the program? That's going to give me what? Their objection, right? Then I'm going to isolate that. Is that the only thing you think that she'd have a problem with? Make sure you isolate that part, right? Because if I go chase that one, I may be in the rabbit hole and they have a bunch of other stuff. I still need to talk to her. Okay, well, let me ask you this, right? What else do you think she have a concern with? Now I'm just going down the rabbit hole. I want to isolate first and I address it. Make sense? It's all psychology. But here's the thing. They need you to help them make a decision, because if they can make a decision without you being able to go through the process, they wouldn't need you to be there in the first place. Does that make sense? And here's the crazy part. Do you think people regret making bad decisions more, or do you think people regret not making decisions and taking action more in life? I know for me it's like 10x. I should have done so much more I didn't do, but I didn't do because I was scared, which cost me a whole lot of money. Does that make sense? And so my job is to be able to help them make the decision. I know it's the right thing. Now, from a cultural standpoint, I don't push them unless I feel it's the right thing. But I do feel it's the right thing if they're working with me versus some other brokerage that doesn't do much, right? And so that's why it's important for me to make sure I do that. Makes sense? Now, then I'm going to get to lack of authority. Right? So let's say I'm like, well, I still want to talk to my wife, whatever it is. Let me ask you this, Jeremy. Right? Is your wife against you being able to go down and see your grandchildren grow up in Florida? Then why would she ever be against you being able to solve that problem and get down there to be with them? That's a simple one. I'm giving them the authority, right? Jeremy, it seems to me like you're asking for permission. We should be asking for support. Would you agree? So what am I doing there? I'm switching the authority around, and I'm giving them empowerment to be able to make the decision without them. And then I go back to worst case scenario and go to a drop with a cancellation guarantee. Say, Jeremy, here's the deal. If you go back to your wife today and say, hey, Morgan, go back to Morgan today and say, look, I made a decision. right? I work with the number real estate team, Myrtle Beach. Got this guy who sells 100 plus homes a year. We booked, listed a house. We got it sold. We're going to get to meet in Florida next 60 to 90 days. You think she's really mad at you?
No.
And here's the deal, Jeremy. If she comes back to you within the next 48 hours and says, you know what? I don't want to go see our grandchildren. I want to see them grow up without ever seeing them only 2 or 3 times a year. And I want to stay here the rest of my life and miss out on every great memory. Then you tell me and you call me, I'll rip it up for you. That's if they give you pushback after that one. But you can do a limitation within typically 48 hours. Does that make sense? Questions about that? What am I doing there? I'm flipping around the authority, and then what I do, I back it up with logic. Like, hey, could she really mad at you for making the right decision, working with the number one real estate agent at Myrtle Beach, number one real estate team at Myrtle Beach, still 100 plus homes a year, right? In your situation, whatever it is, that's how you go back, and you're able to sell them on the logic part. You want to make it seem funny. Almost ridiculous they would ever go against that. Does that make sense? And so that's the key thing. Alex Hormozy does a lot with fitness. He's like, hey, let's say you go home to your husband, you tell your husband, hey, I made this money, I invest in this weight loss program, and your husband says, hey, I don't want you to be fit, I want you to be fat, I want you to put some sweatpants on, lay on the couch, eat Doritos all day, and live less than you actually should live and have a heart attack early on so I can go and marry somebody younger than you, right? If he says that, I'll give your money back. And typically what they start doing? Start laughing to see how ridiculous it is because you're going through that part. Does that make sense? Now, what happens after that? Go back for the close. And here's one thing I want you guys to understand. This is what he talks about a lot. If they still give me pushback, let's say the Jeremy example, right, says, well, you know, I still think she might not like making a decision without her, and, you know, I still don't know, and then what can I do? Not yet. I'm saving that one. I'm going to go down the resentment path. Jeremy, let's play that out. Let's say you don't actually take authority, and you give her the authority to make the decision without you, right? And she doesn't let you do it, and all of a sudden now you have good intentions, but you guys end up being here another 3-4 years and missing out 4 years of your grandchildren. And all of a sudden now you move down there, they're 5 and 6 years old, and you missed their first 5 years, but your wife didn't let you make the decision 4 years ago. What do you think it's going to do towards her? You got resentment towards her. And what do you think it does for marriages? No one kills any marriage of resentment. So anytime that you give your authority to someone else to make a decision on your behalf, guess what that breeds? Resentment. And so I want you guys to think of this, right? As salespeople, what you're doing here, ideally, you're saving marriage by helping people realize they're in control of themselves. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to make the decision without telling the spouse, but if it's that important where they have you in your house as a listing agent or they're with you as a buyer's agent and they're doing all this stuff, it's probably pretty safe to say it's pretty important. Would you agree? And so my job is to give them the authority over what? Themselves. And I'm not saying to do it and not tell the spouse about it, but they have the authority to make the decision themselves. Most of the time, it's not actually making the decision or what the spouse thinks, it's what? Avoidance of making the decision. Okay? Bobby, what are you hearing from that?
It's like you're just giving them, putting them in a state where it doesn't make sense for them to not hunt or not go with you. Just creating that mindset for them.
Yeah. And so let's say I'm meeting with them and I'm missing the person in the beginning. I'm going to pre for them, hey, let me ask you this. I know your wife's supposed to be here today. Are you going to make a decision without her today? No. Okay, well, let me ask you this. We're going to reschedule. If they say no, hey, I'll tell them about what we have. Just keep in mind, I want you to think of this just like your wife's going to be here. And I may try to speakerphone her in, call her in, whatever it is if I can. But ultimately, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start hammering, hey, now if that happens, I need to go really deep on discovery. Why? I need to know the pain and the problem they're solving and the ultimate pain of not solving that problem. Does that make sense? And so on the back end, I pull that pain back out, I combine it with the logic, and I say, look, here's the deal. I know you said your wife want to be a part of it, make a decision, but it seems to me like you don't want to miss out the first 4 years of your grandchildren's life, do you? That's pretty serious stuff right there. Do you think your wife would ever withhold you from actually seeing your grandchildren grow up? Does she want to see them grow up too? Then let me ask you this, Ryan. What's the worst that could happen? Definitely not worse than missing out on the first 4 years, is it? Makes sense? You guys see me on this? How long have you been thinking about moving down there? Oh, last 2 years. Well, you guys hadn't taken action on it yet, right? You just need somebody to help you get across the hump to get down there. Do you agree? Right? Whatever it is. You guys with me on this? Is it kind of scary? Yeah, you're going to have to get uncomfortable a little bit to have that collision because obviously that's just the easy way people out. But they need that certainty and they need that part of you. Does that make sense? Now, one quick thing I got ahead of myself in a way. What sells more than anything else? certainty. So anybody ever feel like you're super hot? Right? Every single person you meet with signs, every person you meet with buys, everything goes great. On the flip side, you ever had times you feel like you're cold? What do you think the difference is? It's your own certainty. Bobby nailed it. Why?
Because, you know, there's a difference when you go into an appointment or you're going to a showing or whatever, how you feel about it. Like, you know, if you're certain about it, like, yeah, I'm ready for this and whatever, but then if you're not ready for it, then you're not, like, prepared for it, and then you not being certain makes them feel uncertain too.
Yes. So people are very, very good at reading energy, right? They don't know what it's called. They can just read you. People are very skeptical these days. So they can read your certainty or non-certainty or uncertainty based on just your energy. And so what happens in many cases, you're on fire. You're saying the same words most of the time. What's happening is your certainty inside is not there. And what takes that away? An angry text from a client, something going on in your personal life you haven't handled, right? A bad text, a bad call. And all of a sudden, what happens to your belief? Belief goes down, and so your belief is low. Ultimately, your subconscious energy and the way you're portraying yourself doesn't come across as certain. So in their mind, the back of their mind, they're thinking what? There's something about this guy, something about this girl that's not right, right? They don't feel sold because they don't feel a transference of energy to you. And so it's important to make sure, hey, what am I doing most certain? And one thing that Alex talks about a lot, you got to record your presentations, every single one, so that you can do what?
Hear yourself.
The minute you get cold, what do you got to do? Go back and listen to the ones where you're on fire. And you can look at the things you said, the jokes you made, the marks you made in each place, the energy you had in your voice. And so that's why it's so important. You can pull yourself out of the slump faster by going back and listening to a presentation where you're on fire so that you can get back in that state very quickly because it's your own state you're borrowing from. Does that make sense? But a lot of times, if I'm not recording, you just want to bump and bump and bump and bump. And it's hard to dig out the hole if you're just trying to do it by getting lucky. Does that make sense? That's why you see in timeshare, right? Dudes just sell 5, 6, 7, 8 in a week. Then all of a sudden you have a slump, and I've seen people go from number one salesperson in timeshare 2 months in a row to get fired the next month. You ever seen that?
I literally did an interview with somebody 2 weeks ago. He was like, man, I was number one, and now I'm at the bottom of the list, and they've got me on this performance plan. They're talking about letting me go.
Yeah, I've seen it happen. They've been the top salesperson months in a row. Boom, they fire within a month. What do you think changed? Their certainty, right? The energy, what it was. And so now you have the tools to be able to go back, listen to your presentation. You can hear it in your voice. You can listen to a bad one, listen to a good one. Here's the deal. Take it, 2 transcripts, my good one and bad one, have AI analyze it and tell me what I did wrong. It's that simple. But you have to have the data right now. This allows you to course correct much faster. But typically, and Grant Cardone talks about this a lot too, what happens is one bad thing happens to you and it costs you your belief. You don't believe in the program. You don't believe in you. Right? You think, man, I messed this up. And so you got to make sure you can rebound quicker by having the ability to go back and pull from your best stuff. Make sense? That's why reference is so important. And guess what's most important? You got to keep your cup filled up. If you're drained, right, you're checked out, you're not doing personal development in terms of borrowing certainty from other people, they can feel it on you, and all of a sudden the dominoes don't knock down quite as easy. You're doing the motions, but guess what's not happening? Traction. Okay? Very important piece there. Now, we're in the last part. The last part here is avoidance, right? What's the hardest one to get? What's the hardest objection, Jeremy?
I gotta think of that.
Got to think about it. Would you guys agree? Right? So if you get that part, I want you to look at it like this. I've exhausted the other 2 parts where people aren't in power. So what that means is if I need to think about it, what do I know?
They don't know.
I have someone in power who can make a decision. I'm face to face with a decision maker, and if I can do this right, I get them to make a decision. Does that make sense? You guys with me on that? And so there's a couple ways to do that overall. Now, if you guys give me what objection you guys got, and you think about it.
The rocking chair closed.
It's one of them. There's 2 different reasons. Number 1, there's 3 different ones, I think. There's 3 types of avoidance. Number 1, they're past. So what would that be? Made bad decisions in the past, right? Bad experience. And so what do you do there? What's that?
I think like if I find that out earlier, are you talking about later in the close, or like we're talking about maybe we found this out and discussed?
We're on the back end, dude.
Okay.
Right, I found that discovery, I'm going to go again. And then most time you do it right, you'll start hammering the whole time.
So I'd be like, hey, I just compared what you've seen with the other agent.
Yep. And I flipped the chart around. The other agent you met, were they in Forbes Magazine? Nope. Were they in Fox News? Nope. Were they in Wall Street Journal? Nope. Were they number 1? Nope. So we'll probably see a difference here in quality we're talking about. Would you agree? Yes. You ever seen a product on Amazon? Does anybody have all happy people on there? Nope. Guess what? You'll see a brand new Ferrari with a 1-star review on it. Why is that? Because some people are just not happy with anything. And the reality is, Ryan, let me ask you this. Do you think if one person's bad, is everybody's bad? The last thing you want to do is let somebody like that guy, what was his name? Give me a name. Dave. The last thing you want to do is let Dave burn you twice. You know what that means?
Still got something on him.
Dave's still keeping you now from making good decisions in the future. Let me ask you this, Ryan. Did you ever have a girlfriend in middle school?
Yeah.
What was her name? Tabby. Did it work out with Tabby? Dick went sideways, right? Not good with Tabby, right? Tabby was horrible, right? So let me ask you this, Ryan. Let me ask you this, Ryan. If you went with middle school, right, and you had a bad experience with Tabby and it was not good and you just swore women off for the rest of your life, what would you think about that?
I think I'd be crazy.
Be crazy, right? Just same thing here. You had a bad experience with a realtor 10 years ago. Doesn't mean you had a bad experience here. But if you would have never met your wife, guess what you would have done there? You allowed Tabby to burn you twice. Tabby burned you the first time when she cheated on you in middle school, and she burned you the second time when she kept you from meeting your wife. Would you agree? The last thing we're going to do today, Ryan, is let Dave burn you twice. Would you agree? 100%. Let's get this thing started for you. Make sense? So that's burn you twice close. Super simple. But you guys got to be able to pull it up and go back to it. Most time, they're not going to marry their high school sweetheart or their middle school sweetheart. If they do, that's okay, right? Just keep going with it. Hey, certain things aren't perfect. You guys break up in between. Most times, statistically, they have been. Let's say you broke up with Tabby, right? Got back together and married her, right? If you wouldn't have given her the second chance, 3 times, right?
We dated in middle school and high school.
You see on point?
My worst relationship I ever had in my entire life.
So if they have the past example, what do you talk about? Scott?
Sorry, repeat that.
If you have, I got burned in the past, another agent, I hate you agents, I don't want agents, what are you going to talk about?
Talk about the past experience.
They burn you twice close. Hey, what's the agent's name? I want to know, because I'm going to use that name in there. And I'm going to go back, hey, did you ever have a relationship? Let me ask you this. Did you marry your middle school sweetheart? Nope. Did you have a girlfriend or boyfriend in middle school? Yep. They say no. Say high school, right? Let me guess. Things didn't work out? No. What would you think of it if I told you I got in a relationship in middle school, broke up with her, and swore off women for the rest of my life? Be pretty crazy, right? Same exact thing here with the real estate agent. We can't let Dave burn you twice. Because if you would have done that with your middle school sweetheart, Tabby to burn you once, and she burned you twice when she kept you from meeting your wife. Aren't you glad you gave that away and be able to took that risk? Right? Boom, now you go back, same thing. With me on that? Questions? See how powerful that is? It works, right? You guys with me on this? What's the second one? Present, right? I didn't think about it, right? I don't make decisions quickly, whatever it is. I need to think about it. What's a good example? I taught you one a few weeks ago. Huh?
Watch.
Yeah, what is it?
When I tell you to look at your watch, what do you think about?
Kind of. Scott, nobody really thinks about it. The good news is thinking is instant. Would you agree? If I tell you to think about my watch, what do you think about? I'll tell you to think about a gray elephant, what do you think about? Yep, we both know that thinking's instant. The thing you got to do today is make a decision. Would you agree? Yes. Now, here's the deal. To make a good decision, Scott, guess what you don't need?
Time to think.
More time. You know what you need?
Action.
Information. And the good news for you, guess who the number one source of information is right now? Me. So let me ask you this, Scott. If you were to think about it, right, what criteria would you use to make a decision? This is the best close right here. This is the whole reason I'm teaching this today. I'm giving you guys a new one you won't have yet. So if you were to make a decision today, Scott, if you were to think about it today, what criteria would you use to make a decision?
I'm just thinking about price.
Price.
Yeah.
So price of the house?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's a super easy one. If we got this number and this number, which one do you think is better for you today? That's super simple. Most time they don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
They're going to say what?
I don't know, man. I really didn't sit down and talk to my wife about it.
Yeah, and if you guys did sit down and talk about it, let me ask you this. What criteria would you guys use to pick the actual best agent for you?
I would just want somebody that's confident, and they start to listen to all the things that they want.
Yeah, Ryan, the one thing I find, most people don't have an actual criteria. You hear anybody have a criteria?
Only a very small handful.
Yeah.
Most of the time they stumble on that question.
They don't have a criteria. If they do, I'll say, cool, confidence. 1 to 10, how do you rank me? Right? Ben Franklin right there, dude. Other age you met with, what was their confidence? 5. Okay, what am I, right? Go back. What was the next one? What am I doing there? I'm forcing him to do what? Make a decision. All right? And so that's a key part. If you do it right, what are they going to say? What have you heard, Jeremy?
If you do it right, then they do make a decision and they go with it.
But if you say, well, what criteria would you use if you were to make a decision? Let's say you guys want to think about it. Because Jeremy, here's the deal. We both know you're not going to go sit on the front porch and sit in your rocking chair and sit back and think, honey, should we go with that guy or not? You know why? You're going to forget about 95% of the stuff I just told you. Your life is busy. You got to do laundry. You got to cook dinner. You got kids running around. You got all this stuff going on. So ultimately, you find yourself a week later not actually making a good decision, and you just randomly pick somebody, which is not the best way to do it. So let me ask you this. If you had to make the right decision, what criteria do you think would be the best one?
And then you want me to say, like, what they actually say?
A lot of times, what do you get? They're going to say, we don't really know,
Yeah,
right?
we don't know.
We don't know. And so here's how you get them. Would you like me to help you think through to make a decision? This is the secret right here. I'll tell you. Would you like me to help you? And here's what a couple ways, depending how they answer, you're going to change it, right? Would you like me to help you give you an exact criteria to how to pick an agent? And they say what?
Yeah.
Yep. And there's 3 questions you can ask. Number 1, Jeremy, do you think this product, right, whatever it is, guaranteed sold system, unfair advantage, buyer, right, cash offer, can get you what you want? Yes. Do you think this product can get your house sold for you and get you down to Florida to see your grandchildren? Do you think this unfair advantage program can help you find the best deal versus you searching randomly on Zillow? Yes, right? That's question number 1. Question number 2, do you trust me that I can do it for you? Number 2, do you trust me that I can do it for you?
What if they say, well, I'm not sure, I just met you.
There's your answer right
Yeah,
there.
that's it, because they don't trust you.
So if they say that, what do you know?
They don't trust me.
Yes. And so that means I got to what?
Do some work.
The right point. Hey, I'm so glad you said that, Ryan. Right? And there's 2 ways. If you did it right, you go back to the where it's going close. Hey, I totally appreciate it. Let me reintroduce myself to you, right? And you go through the whole process. But that's a key part, right? And I say we can come back to that. Number 3, right? Do you think this program in our system will work for you? Why? Because they may have doubt about their previous. I know it works for other people and the other 7,000 different agents, right? So another 7,000 previous clients that we've closed, right? $1.5 billion and 7,000 homes sold. So we've done that before. And if they say, well, I'm not really sure if it will work for me, Ryan, let me ask you this. If I've sold 7,000 homes and $1.5 billion in real estate, think we're probably qualified to get it done for you? Yeah. Think the system probably works better than your cousin who sold 2 houses last year? Yeah, definitely, right? Great. So the only big question, Ryan, is if you trust me to get it done. Is that correct? That's so cool. I'm totally appreciate you being honest and open with me. And that's a great question, because that's something I'll have to earn. But just in case you had that feeling, guess what I brought today? A few testimonials. Here's 10 different people telling you that I'm amazing what I do. Let me play the first one for you. Boom, Ryan's amazing. Here's another picture of my happy buyers. Here's a picture of my happy sellers. Here's a great review. Here's another review. Here's another. Ryan, let me ask you this. How many reviews do you need to see of 5-star happy clients before it comes unreasonable for you to say no still?
I think I've seen enough.
I got 5, 10 more if you need them. So if I could help these people that you saw the video and these 10 5-star reviews you saw here and our 1,000 plus as a team, do you think we're probably qualified to earn your trust?
Yes.
I agree. You ready to get the property sold?
Yes.
Right? You see what I'm saying? So this process, what I do, I help them give a criteria. I talk about some radio show all the time. My biggest aha lately is they don't know how to pick an agent. What's the number 1 question a seller asks when they call the office?
Commission.
How much do you charge? It's the wrong question. By far. It means I'm picking an agent based on the wrong criteria. If I call every attorney in Myrtle Beach and ask what do you charge, I get 0 information. And I go to jail. Right? Or lose my license or whatever it is based on that scenario. And so that's my job, is help explain to them what the right criteria is to pick an agent. What are the 3 questions again?
You think this product can get you what you want?
Do you believe this product can help you get your property sold, get you to Florida, whatever it is? Think this product can help you find the dream home that you guys want in the right neighborhood, in the right price point? Yes. Let me ask you this. What's the second one?
You think I really want to help you get there?
Not yet. What's the word you need? You missed. Do you trust me that I can get that done for you? Right? That's a key word, because trust is really going to expose them. They may see what Ryan said, which you know what, I don't. No problem, Ryan. I totally appreciate that. And you know what? Everybody kind of thinks that initially.
I like what you said. That's something I got to earn.
Yep.
That was a big rider.
And so then I'm going to say, hey, well, with that said, do you believe that this exact proven repeatable system can work for you? Yes. Well, the only question you have is, do you trust me or not? And that's a very great question because you just met me, right? Let me ask you this, Ryan. Did you do any research about us before we came in today? I'm sure you did because everybody does, right? And you probably saw my testimonials online of all the people that's praising my service and how good I am. Do you see my reviews I had online?
I did.
Yep.
That's why I actually came in.
Yep. And so whatever it is now, hell, let me show you a couple of them just in case. Boom, boom, boom. Here, what's the key word there?
Let me show.
How much proof and people do I need to show you before it becomes unreasonable for you not to trust me? That's the key word there. And at that point, social proof overrules it, but you got to have that all in foundation first, right? Let me ask you this, Ryan. If they're still super skeptical, would you think these people get on video and talk about how good I am if I wasn't good at what I did? If you got to the transaction, the guy was told you didn't do his job, would you get on video and tell him how good you did? Absolutely not, right? Guess what? They didn't either. And so the reality is, whatever. Let's say you have a bad review. Well, you guys may address that if you have to. They bring it up. Right? Hey, we got this person. Hey, you ever watch an Amazon product? How many of you see 100% all 5 stars? Now, here's the crazy part, Ryan. If you see an Amazon product with all 5-star reviews with 1,000 reviews, what would you think about it?
That's a pretty good product.
It's fake and they're foolish. Seriously, you guys notice that? Have you ever seen a product with all 5-star reviews?
Yeah.
You have?
Only if there's like 5 reviews.
Yeah, but it's got to be 1,000. Once you have 1,000, because people, they do work the system on Amazon, right? A lot of that stuff is fake. Make sense? So that's the key part you have to go back to. And that's where you go back. Hey, look, I'm sure you've probably seen that anywhere. And here's, I saw another great line last night. If you want to do it, they say, why don't you do more research on you online? Well, did you do any research before you came in today? Yeah. Well, here's the deal, Bobby. I'm going to have you consider you can find whatever you want online. If you want to go find bad stuff for you not to make a decision, guess what? You can find it. You know why? You can go right now and find a 1-star review on a brand new Ferrari. Because that's just what I wanted to find. But is a Ferrari a bad car? No. It's a very nice car, right? Which is why it gets so much money. But if I want to find the good stuff, you're going to get exactly what you want. Just like with me, you're going to find 1,000+ 5-star reviews. You're going to find Forbes Magazine, Wall Street Journal, Fox News, right? Whatever it is you go through in that part. And so the good news is the question for you today is, what do you really want to find? Do you want to find a way to make a good decision or a way not to make a decision today? Right? And I close and base on that. Is this helpful for you guys?
Yeah.
So what are you hearing from that?
Basically, just make it so ridiculous that they have no choice but to say yes to with these one-liners and everything you're asking them, that you're leading down the road to say yes, because in their mind it's starting to make sense to them over and over again, and at the end they come to the conclusion themselves, which I think is the biggest part that allows them to even just build that rapport with you, because you're not pushing them to say yes, you're allowing them to come to that conclusion, and at the end they're just happy like, oh, I did this on my own, now I'm set up, now it's good to go.
Yep. 100%, right? So the key part there is I got to make sure that, and here's the thing. Let's say that they're avoiders, right? I want to address, hey, Ryan, whoever, how long you guys been thinking about actually buying something?
4 years.
4 years. So let me ask you this. What have you watched happen the last 4 years?
Prices go up and watch a lot of building.
Watched a lot of building. What did you see prices do?
Went up
A little bit or a lot?
a lot.
Do you wish you'd have bought before?
I'll probably be in a better shape if I would have bought 4 years ago.
Right, you would. So let me ask you this. If you keep doing what you're doing, right, for the next 4 years and not making a decision, not picking the right agent like you are with me today, right, what does life look like for you in 4 more years?
Same thing I'm doing right now.
Except even more painful, would you agree? Because now you just missed 8 years living in Myrtle Beach, building memories, having your grandchildren down, whatever it is, right? So I future pace what could happen based on that, and that's another way to close them with that part. Does that make sense? If you keep doing what you're doing, what's life look like, right? Let's consider the options. Both are risk-free, right? One's only guaranteed. And so that's key to look at, right? If you're going to do it eventually, you might as well just do it today. That's a great close. Write that one down. Hey, Bob, if you're going to do it eventually, you might as well just do it today. Would you agree? My stepdad says all the time, hey, when's the best time to buy real estate? Yesterday, right?
2008.
Best time to buy, again, it's today, right? It talks about that or anything. But whatever it is, it's important.
Say best time was 2008. Second best time is today. That's what I always say.
Well, better would be like 1950, right? You know what I mean? So like
Years ago.
yesterday, right? So that's the key part there. And then here's the best way. This is the last one. I want you guys to write this down. The closer or further close. All right, let me ask you this. What's the worst that could happen if you actually sign this agreement today and we become agents, work together?
I'm just going to be locked in for a full year.
You're locked in for a full year,
Yeah.
right? What does that mean? What's the worst that could happen with that?
If I find something,
But let's say, let me ask this, Ryan. Let's say, and if sorry, we're about, say what now? Say it again.
I said, if I find something, I want to be able to go, freely look at it if you didn't send it to me.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because here's the deal. Me sending you a property, you don't even need me for that. You can do that on Zillow. That's just 1/100th of what I do. If you sell a presentation, sending your property is just one little piece of it. The real part is you going in, finding out, not giving away your negotiation status, right? Looking to make sure nothing can hurt you long-term value. Make sure I negotiate position of strength, get you the best financing, and actually get you to the closing table. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you found that and you sent me a property that you found on Craigslist, is that really that worst case scenario? No. What could be the worst thing that could happen then?
Or just not finding a house.
So you don't find a house. Well, let me ask you this. Let's say that did happen. We went a whole 12 months without finding a house, right? But you learned a lot about the marketplace. I showed you 15 or 20 of them. You got pre-approved financing. Would you be closer or further away from where you wanted to be in the future?
Probably a little bit closer.
A hell of a lot closer. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So is that the case? Is it really worst case?
No, not really.
Good. So if we're going to get closer for it, and you know it's not actually worst case, you ready to go ahead and move forward today?
Yeah.
Super simple, right? Because there's not many instances that we are able to do it in that scenario. Same thing listening. Say, hey, let me ask you, Jim, what's the worst that can happen today? Doesn't sell, right? But you tried, got out there, you learned a lot, able to fix it up. I gave you some pieces to fix up, and I hooked you up with somebody in Florida to help you with. But let's say worst case scenario, the house does not sell for the price that you want. Would that put you closer or further away from where you wanted to be?
The same or closer again?
The same or closer, but you wouldn't be what?
Further.
Any further. And so I can hook you up with somebody in Florida, get you taken care of, find the right one down there, and make sure we can help get this done for the highest amount of money. In worst case, all you have to do is drop the price a little bit. Think it'll be closer or further?
Closer.
Absolutely. So can you see any reason not to move forward today besides that? Right? So I use that on both sides. You guys with me on this? This is powerful if you just do what? Practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it. Okay? I wasn't teaching about deals blowing up, but it's one a little deep. Right? Is this helpful? Shit's good, right? Can you see how your life would change if you actually use this? What do you got to do? Practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it. Okay? All right. Number one takeaway, how it applies today. Jim, what do you got?
Yeah, and I think it's just going in further, asking the questions,